I am so pleased to welcome Ian Marias to the stage. He's the Vice President of Software Development at Audible. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, let's clap. We like clapping.
Thank you, Aaron. It's my pleasure to be here, and good morning to all of you. In fact, Dr. Henderson talked about coming from Georgia. My son went to the University of Georgia, and they won the national championship in football. And then in basketball, my college is the University of Kansas Jayhawks. So we had a great year. So it's been a great year for my family.
Never heard of him. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with some Jersey City basketball situation.
Exactly. We were very familiar with them. So
explain to people. First, I'm sure people know Audible, but remind them. But more importantly, your role there.
So my role is I work as part of the tech team, and we deliver these global solutions for millions of customers, and we have a variety of different consumer-facing surfaces. We have an iOS app, we have an Android app, we have a web surfaces, we have a presence on Amazon.com. Which certainly scalability and availability and all those things are super important, Aaron. And we also have a presence on Alexa. So to develop these scalable solutions, we use both Amazon technologies and AWS technologies. And some of you may be asking, well, what's the difference between Amazon technologies and AWS technologies, where Amazon technologies are the ones such as subscriptions and promotions and those capabilities that other Amazon teams use, Amazon digital clients. And AWS, I think you're all familiar with it. And AWS is a cloud computing capability that Amazon provides. Google has something similar, and so does Microsoft. And I think for startups in this room, you have an unprecedented opportunity to be able to take advantage of capabilities and skills that would typically only be available to large-scale organizations. So I think that's a topic we can certainly delve more into, Aaron, if you'd like to. But in terms of where I'm located in the Tech Cathedral in Newark. For some of you who maybe have not visited it, it's this former church that Audible renovated, and it houses our tech team. It has a bowling alley in it, and it's a pretty cool space. It's about 80,000 square feet. At one point in time, it had about 10,000 member congregation. But in it, it still maintains the stained glass window and remnants of the choir loft and organ pipes, and so pretty cool place to work, and it's a symbol of Audible's commitment to the Newark community.
So let's. How many people here have been to the Innovation Cathedral? So just
awesome.
A few. Awesome. We actually tried to host this event there, but you guys aren't ready for that yet.
We're still partly remote.
But it's a fantastic space, and I do think, to your point, it's a representation, the physical representation of Audible's and Don Katz's in particular commitment to Newark. So can you speak towards how does Audible view itself in the community as being a good corporate citizen, and in particular, the dedication to Newark?
Yeah, so I think one of the points to bring up would be that, Don, when Aaron talked about being an entrepreneur and being an innovator and being an instigator, Don Katz exemplifies and embodies all those three qualities. He called me up some years ago, over 5 years ago, when I was in Atlanta, actually, and he told me about Audible's mission. And the one thing that stuck with me was his mention of, he said he would take his Sony Walkman with cassette tapes. How many of you remember that? Okay, that's good, right? So he would take the Sony Walkman with cassette tapes and go jogging around New York City. And he just loved the sound of words, right? That's what motivated him. And I always find that fascinating in terms of being able to understand and get more insight into those successful entrepreneurs. And for him, that's what helped start Audible. Audible was founded in 1995, for those of you who may not be familiar with it. And it was about elevating the spoken word and being able to embody it. And in 1997, Audible released the first personal digital audio player.
Did anyone in here have that first digital audio player? No.
So 1997, right? And in terms of, so Don basically relocated the headquarters of Audible over 15 years ago to Newark to really become part of the heart and soul of a community and to enable the revitalization of a historic city. And Audible seeks to exemplify what a company can mean beyond what it does. It really transcends financial success. And that was one of the motivations in me moving my family from a warm southern state to New Jersey, right? To be able to do that.
What are you
right?
saying?
I'm just saying it, right? So
You mean the upgrade?
exactly. So, and it's to address those structural challenges related to equity and economic empowerment, right? And racial justice. And when we think about community and community support, there are many examples, but I'll pick a couple that may resonate with this audience, which is the first one is the customer care center that Audible has. It's based in Newark. When you have a problem or you need help with Audible, that call is routed to the call center in Newark. And that call center comprises local residents who have been reskilled and retrained to be able to support this operation. So it's about folks who want jobs, want to learn, and here they can contribute. But the cool part about it is that that call center has a 96% satisfaction rate. And they have these transferable skills that they can take to another place, right? The second example I'll bring up is that, the Audible tech team used to go volunteer at schools, would go ahead and have hackathons in Newark. We would go mentor. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic came, right? And we were moved and we worked remotely. Went back to our apartments and homes to do that. But our hearts and souls were still in Newark. So the tech team sprung to action and said, what can we do to help out? And Tech Cares came to be about. It's an organic, very nascent effort to help enable nonprofits and consult with them and give them technical consult and technical advice. And a lot of these nonprofits don't have any tech support. They don't have any technical expertise. So the team went ahead and met with them, provided recommendations, got a note, Aaron, last week or the week before, unsolicited from a nonprofit, which said how they valued the recommendations that the team provided. They've implemented those, and it's made a difference, right? And so to me, it's about community support is about being impactful, wanting to inspire, and really deliver with passion and compassion. And so that's
Audible continues to be committed to helping outside the walls of Audible. But can you just share in that example, when you'd reach out to a nonprofit, what were you offering, and how did that process go?
Yeah. So we were offering advice, any needs that they had related to technology. Some had basically been, it was all working in an office. They had a physical server where they maintained everything. And now they had to work remotely. That was a challenge. What do I use? What are some tools that we use? What are some capabilities available for donor management, for example? So we weren't experts in it, but we researched Salesforce and be able to provide them with a recommendation, put the context together, identified what the options were. And so those are the things that it takes time, it takes expertise, but those are things that we can give back to the community.
You also launched a program called Newark Working Kitchens.
Yeah.
Can you share what that program is about and how it helped really keep businesses afloat during the pandemic?
Sure. So there are a number of local businesses in Newark and local restaurants. And if we really think about it, the service economy was disproportionately affected by the pandemic, right? a number of us could go back to our apartments and homes and flip open our laptops. We had Wi-Fi and we could work remotely. For those who were waiters, those who were small restaurant owners, those who were hotel staff, they were really affected, right? So prior to the pandemic, we would go to local restaurants in Newark. We would go to the Cuban sandwiches place. We would go to local ethnic restaurants. And Audible had a lunch out program where you got a card and you could spend it on local restaurants. When the pandemic came, that was a really big wake-up call. And since a lot of those local Newark restaurants employed local residents, those folks couldn't put food on their table, including for themselves and their families. So that's where Newark Working Kitchens was developed in response to the pandemic. The basic concept is that you purchase meals from these local Newark restaurants. Volunteers and Audible shuttles were used to deliver these meals to those who most needed it. So it's about saving jobs and saving lives, right? And these restaurants stayed in business as a result of it. And the result as of a week ago or 2 weeks ago is 1,400,000 meals were delivered. So
Pretty
awesome.
incredible.
Yeah.
And how much money was raised to support that?
You can get onto the website, Aaron, in terms of it has a lot more information. I don't have that exact number, but
Wasn't it roughly $5 a meal? If I thought that was the pro, or 10? Was it $10 a meal? Maybe I'll ask you questions that we approved.
$10 a meal. $10 a meal. I think would be about right.
So I
right?
believe it's around $10 million, but
exactly.
We should check it. But
exactly.
It's an incredible commitment
exactly.
to the community and in keeping
for sure.
retailers afloat.
For sure.
What are Audible Bucks and how do they play into also driving community engagement?
So that was that's a program where it's used for discretionary income, and it's basically a card that's provided to Newark residents and students to be able to spend on groceries and pharmacies, et cetera. Again, fueling the local business as well as meeting the needs. So it's, again, another program that helps with enabling these small businesses to continue to thrive and to grow.
There are a lot of large corporations. You heard me talk earlier, a top 5 state of Fortune 500 headquarters who don't all see engaging in their backyard or in their home state with the same, with such a high priority as Audible does. What's the why behind this? Why is Audible so engaged in Newark and in the region?
To me, it's about Audible's mission, Aaron, right? And it's one of Audible has people principles that we live by and we use to both attract talent and retain talent. And one of those principles is activate caring, right? It's one of the 5 principles that we live by and drive by. And that community ethos and community spirit is really ingrained in us, but it's part of it, the motivation of coming to want to work at Audible and wanting to make an impact, right? It goes beyond just financial success. It's about reaching out to the community, being part of a community, and being, when the community is down, Audible chipped in, just like with Newark Working Kitchens, and responded. And I think that, to me, is a perfect example. That's why it's inspirational to be able to apply and to be able to work for Audible.
In leading the engineering function, obviously engineers are in very, very high demand. Mm-hmm. How do you find that this, in sharing this quality in Audible and the mission of Audible outside of the engineering challenges, do you find it helps in recruitment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nowadays, it's cool to be a technologist, right? Everyone wants to talk to you. Everyone wants 15 minutes of your time to be able to pitch the next opportunity, the next job. And folks have got very ingenious in terms of reaching out and saying, here's an opportunity to talk to you. And I think given the fact that we can also work remotely is also another challenge, right? And you're really targeting a very specific skill set and a specific demographic. And so being able to have a mission that extends beyond just financial success is crucial. And it certainly is attractive in retaining and attracting talent. And I think one of the questions I ask candidates is, so what have you done lately in your community? What have you done to help others? Anything, right? And I think it's always interesting to see what the responses are, because those are the folks that are very engaged and continue to be engaged in the mission at Audible and want to help out and want to help out remotely, just like the Tech Cares example I pointed out earlier.
For the entrepreneurs in the room, do you have any questions on your favorite interview questions to ask engineers outside of the mission-driven question?
Yeah, I think one of the questions I always start up with, so this will be a sneak peek for those people in case you want to share with them, is what's your most successful accomplishment, right? And when you do that, it's a great opportunity to be able to delve more deeply in terms of what they're passionate about, getting into the detail. If they bring up a tech topic, I code on the weekends. I was telling Aaron, I code on the weekends and on the side. And so you can delve more deeply into what they've developed, how they developed it, what was the problem, what's the business value, can they get down into the detail, can they get down into the actual coding capabilities and really talk about monitoring and alarming and any of those capabilities that would be important in a solution. So that is a question that I ask.
If we have time, we'll revisit maybe what your greatest accomplishment is. But
For sure.
I want to share a little bit more about the partnership between Tech United New Jersey and with Audible called Tech for Traction, Modernizing and Growing Main Street. Can you share with people what this is about and also why we're doing it?
Yeah. So if you're a startup, obviously pay close attention, because to me, it's an initiative about being able to help a local business and a local community. There are really three challenges that Newark retailers and Newark small businesses are facing. When you think about a small business, we're thinking about those businesses that are a part of the fabric of the community. They employ largely local residents. And the first challenge they face is obviously being able to increase retail traffic, bring in customer traffic into their restaurants or their small businesses. The other one is the increase in digital presence. If you think about it, we've all, consciously or unconsciously, been, over the last 2 years especially, been able to go ahead and use mobile or our laptops and to be able to order and be able to have food delivered and other things. That is a challenge for local small businesses. The third challenge is there are certain barriers for minority owners and businesses to gain access to capital. So those are three challenges, right? The challenge for us is, how do we go ahead and increase retail traffic? How do we increase digital presence? How do we democratize access to capital and to financial funds? And that's why we have the Tech for Traction Challenge that we have, which is for startups. It's a $25,000 cash prize. It's $10,000 in lease support if you're planning to relocate to Newark. There's mentoring, and there's obviously local press coverage. So if you were working on a solution to empower and support community businesses, you should apply to the Tech United Better Connected Newark Challenge, powered by Audible.
I couldn't be more excited about this. It's our first year doing it. I hope it's the first of many. But we at Tech United often talk about how all businesses are tech businesses, whether they realize it or not. That tech empowers, like we talk about here, the local business to use, whether it's a QR code to see a menu or a Square-like device for their point-of-sale system. And the more that we can help modernize Main Street, retailers especially who may be left behind here, and when you think about the equitable impact as well, we want to make sure that here we can surface real solutions to help some of these businesses thrive. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it will help, we hope it will help those businesses in our backyard in Newark, and that there's a scalable opportunity so that this can actually travel and help other businesses in New Jersey and around the country or the globe. When you think about how technology can play a role in any of those three function areas, do you see, or I mean, often with these challenges, we try not to predict what the winner will be. That's sort of the whole point. Let's see what shows up. But I'm curious, in your case, as you've thought about these three areas of focus, are there any particular technologies or applications that you think may be particularly appropriate, especially I think timing has quite a bit to do with technology and deployment. So what do you think the world needs today for these businesses to succeed?
I think it's a really good question. And I think for all of you, I think I'll go back to my earlier question and delve a little bit more on what capabilities are available, especially with the cloud. Obviously, I'm more familiar and more comfortable with AWS, but the similar technologies are available with Azure and available with Google. If you think about it, from just availability of a solution for small community businesses, you can get them up and running very fast, right? For example, you can enable use of uh, scalable solutions using regions and availability zones that previously you needed a whole team to be able to support. Nowadays, you don't. Right now, you can go enable database backups. Before, you needed a separate team to do that. Today, you could probably get, in a matter of an hour or two, I was able to do that as part of one of my COVID projects, be able to go ahead and do sentiment analysis on the Twitter feeds or Reddit conversations that were going on. And that can be done so easily without necessarily having the specialized skills that are required. So the question for each of you would be that when you talk about technology, and Aaron mentioned technology is basically a necessary success component for any startup or any business, I would say look at some of the technologies and capabilities that are easily available today, because you can get something up and running very quickly to increase your digital presence, to be able to do crowdsourcing if that's what you want to pursue, to be able to go ahead and perform and enable more intelligent consumer-facing solutions, but also solutions for these businesses, because everything is becoming much easier. It's being democratized in terms of even coding nowadays. You can get up and running very quickly using point and click, whereas before it took a lot to get solutions up and running.
I have a few more questions. We're going to wrap soon, but if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll try to get to it. Sue talked before about the future of the workforce. What do you see coming out of colleges and universities? There's a lot of discussion around whether students today should even attend colleges and universities, especially in the engineering department where there are specific tool sets and trainings available. What's your view on the best way that an aspiring software engineer should educate him or herself to end up at a place like Audible or another high growth tech company?
So I think the bottom line is when you interview for any tech company or any skills, I think currency of skills and experience is absolutely essential. And I think the ability to keep up with that is absolutely essential. I never was aware of cloud computing, right? I mean, I'm just be really honest. I didn't study what's available today with Node.js or Java, etc. Right? I studied something very different. It was C, right? So C and C++, and which is very, very different. It took a lot to get something done. I even did assembly language, which is lower than that. But I think it's the ability to keep up with those skills and the currency. To go back to your question, I was fortunate to be able to serve on a faculty at a computer science department. And to me, it's about the ability to learn, about problem solving, and the ability to learn how to communicate. Those are super important skills, Aaron. And you don't necessarily need to have a computer science background or an electrical engineering background. It's being able to have those core skills and the ability and the currency of your of knowledge, which will enable you to be successful in the current workforce.
What can this community do? I talked before about this as a ask what you can do to help your neighbor kind of environment. What can we all do to help you?
I think there's a lot that you can do to help me. One, I'd certainly want you to think about solutions that can empower and grow businesses. I think that would be something that would help me. I think another area is that if you have ideas and feedback on how to be able to train a younger workforce and be able to uh, enable them to be educated to drive and participate in this new um, technology workforce, that would certainly be helpful. And I think we are so privileged, all of us in this room, and to be able to help others, I think is certainly something I would appreciate any help on.
Ian, thank you very much for being here. I think it's really notable that most of the companies that we talk to talk about their area, their industry area of focus. We spent almost no time on actually what Audible does, which I think speaks to the commitment that Audible has to Newark and to the greater community. And so we very much appreciate that. Please apply. Tell your friends to apply. Tweet at the world about applying. You may have heard you should apply for this $25,000 challenge.
Exactly.
And more so how you can not just that's the short term fix, but hopefully then get mentorship and opportunities to scale and grow with help from partners like Audible. Thank you very much, Ian. Big round of applause.
Thank you very much.